10 objects and texts that survived while their full meaning did not. This countdown moves from number 10 to number 1, with each archive leading into the next. We begin with Phaistos disk, the artifact that outlived its world. The Phaistos disk, or Phaistos disk, is a disk of fired clay from the island of Crete, Greece, possibly from the Middle or Late Minoan Bronze Age, 2nd millennium BC, bearing a text in an unknown script and language. Its purpose and its original place of manufacture remain disputed. It is now on display at the Archaeological Museum of Heraklion. The name is sometimes spelled Phaistos or Festos. The disc was discovered in 1908 by the Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernia during the excavation of the Minoan palace of Phaistos. The evidence preserved by Phaistos disc leads naturally to Copper Scroll, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 9, Copper Scroll, the artifact that outlived its world. The Copper Scroll, 3Q15, is one of the Dead Sea Scrolls found in Cave 3 near Khirbet Qumran, but differs significantly from the others. Whereas the other scrolls are written on parchment or papyrus, this scroll is written on metal, copper mixed with about 1% tin. Although no metallic copper remained in the strips, the action of the centuries had been to convert the metal into brittle oxide. The so-called scrolls of copper were, in reality, two separated sections of what was originally a single scroll about 2.4 meters, 7.9 feet, in length. Unlike the others, it is not a literary work, but a list of 64 places where various items of gold and silver were buried or hidden. The evidence preserved by Copper Scroll leads naturally to Nebra Sky Disk, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 8, Nebra Sky Disk, the artifact that outlived its world. The Nebra Sky Disk, German, Himmelsscheibe von Nebra, pronounced Himmelsscheibe von Nebra, is a bronze disc of around 30 centimeters, 12 in diameter and a weight of 2.2 kilograms, 4.9 pounds, having a blue-green patina and inlaid with gold symbols. These symbols are interpreted generally as the sun or full moon, a lunar crescent, and stars, including a cluster of 7 stars, axiomatically interpreted as the Pleiades. 2 golden arcs along the sides, one now missing, are thought to have marked the angle between the solstices. Another arc at the bottom with internal parallel lines is usually interpreted as a solar boat with numerous oars, although some authors have also suggested that it may represent a rainbow, the aurora borealis, a comet, or a sickle. The evidence preserved by Nebra Sky Disk leads naturally to Roman dodecahedron, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 7, Roman dodecahedron, the artifact that outlived its world. A Roman dodecahedron or Gallo-Roman dodecahedron is a type of small hollow object made of copper alloy that has been cast into a regular dodecahedral shape with 12 flat pentagonal faces. Each face has a circular hole of varying diameter in the middle, the holes connecting to the hollow center, and each corner has a protruding knob. They rarely show signs of wear and do not have any inscribed numbers or letters. Since the first known example was recorded in 1739, over 100 such objects have been discovered, dating from the 2nd to the 4th centuries AD. The evidence preserved by Roman dodecahedron leads naturally to Saqqara bird, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 6, Saqqara bird, the artifact that outlived its world. The Saqqara bird is a model bird made of sycamore wood and mounted on a stick, discovered during the 1898 excavation of the tomb of Pardii men in Saqqara, Egypt. It has been dated to approximately 200 BCE, and is now housed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. The Saqqara bird has a wingspan of 18 centimeters, 7.1 in, and weighs 39.12 g, 1.380 ounces. Its purpose is unknown, although it is not capable of flight. Its importance comes from the surviving evidence and the way later researchers reconstructed what happened. The evidence preserved by Saqqara bird leads naturally to Rongorongo, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 5, Rongorongo, the artifact that outlived its world. Rongorongo, or Rapa Nui, Rongorongo Tongo Tongo, is a system of glyphs discovered in the 19th century on Easter Island that has the appearance of writing or proto-writing. Numerous attempts at decipherment have been made, but none have been successful. Although some calendrical and what might prove to be genealogical information has been identified, none of the glyphs can actually be read. If Rongorongo does prove to be writing and to be an independent invention, it would be one of very few inventions of writing in human history. 24 wooden objects bearing Rongorongo inscriptions, some heavily weathered, burned, or otherwise damaged, were collected in the late 19th century and are now scattered in museums and private collections. The evidence preserved by Rongorongo leads naturally to Indus script, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 4, Indus script, the artifact that outlived its world. The Indus script, also known as the Harappan script and the Indus Valley script, is a corpus of symbols produced by the Indus Valley civilization. Most inscriptions containing these symbols are extremely short, making it difficult to judge whether or not they constituted a writing system used to record a Harappan language, any of which are yet to be identified. Despite many attempts, the script has not yet been deciphered. There is no known bilingual inscription to help decipher the script, which shows no significant changes over time. However, some of the syntax, if that is what it may be termed, varies depending upon location. The evidence preserved by Indus script leads naturally to Oxyrhynchus papyri, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 3, Oxyrhynchus papyri, the artifact that outlived its world. The Oxyrhynchus papyri are a group of manuscripts discovered during the late 19th and early 20th centuries by papyrologists Bernard Pine Grenfell and Arthur Surridge Hunt at an ancient rubbish dump near Oxyrhynchus in Egypt, 28 degrees 32 minutes north 30 degrees 40 minutes east, modern El Barnasa. The manuscripts date from the time of the Ptolemaic, 3rd century BC, and Roman periods of Egyptian history, from 32 BC to the Muslim conquest of Egypt in 640 AD. Only an estimated 10% are literary in nature. Most of the papyri found seem to consist mainly of public and private documents, codes, edicts, registers, official correspondence, census returns, tax assessments, petitions, court records, sales, leases, wills, bills, accounts, inventories, horoscopes, and private letters. The evidence preserved by Oxyrhynchus papyri leads naturally to Nag Hammadi Library, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 2, Nag Hammadi Library, the artifact that outlived its world. The Nag Hammadi Library, also known as the Chenoboskian manuscripts and the Gnostic Gospels, is a collection of early Christian and Gnostic texts discovered near the Upper Egyptian town of Nag Hammadi in 1945. 12 leather-bound papyrus codices, and a tractate from the 13th, buried in a sealed jar were found by an Egyptian farmer named Muhammad al-Saman and others in late 1945. The writings in these codices comprise 52 mostly Gnostic treatises, but also 3 works belonging to the Corpus Hermeticum and a partial translation/alteration of Plato's Republic. In his introduction to the Nag Hammadi Library in English, James Robinson suggests that these codices may have belonged to a nearby Pachomian monastery and were buried after Saint Athanasius condemned the use of non-canonical books in his festal letter of 367 AD. The evidence preserved by Nag Hammadi Library leads naturally to Library of Ashurbanipal, where a different surviving clue changes the question. At number 1, Library of Ashurbanipal, the artifact that outlived its world. The Royal Library of Ashurbanipal, named after Ashurbanipal, the last great king of the Assyrian Empire, is a collection of more than 30,000 clay tablets and fragments containing texts of all kinds and in various languages from the 7th century BCE. Among its holdings was the famous Epic of Gilgamesh. Ashurbanipal's library gives modern historians information regarding people of the ancient Near East. In his Outline of History, H. Wells calls the library the most precious source of historical material in the world. The materials were found in the archaeological site of Kuyunjik, ancient Nineveh, capital of Assyria, in northern Mesopotamia. That was Top 10 Ancient Artifacts and Unsolved Scripts. Every story in this countdown began as a shorter archive, but the connections only appear when the files are placed together. Subscribe for the next collection.